Hi, everybody. It's Marilyn Wilson here from RE Technology. I see some of my former coffee chat buddies on here, Bruno and Mary and Amy and a few others. So welcome. Good to see you guys. And Fred, thanks so much for stopping in today. We really appreciate it. We've got a really interesting conversation for you today with Kevin Piotta. He has got, I think, one of the coolest titles I've ever heard, which is SEO Fuel Ambassador. I'm like, that's cool. I don't know what that means. We're going to find out, though. That's awesome. He's also an agent in San Diego and focuses on working with the military, with first-time homebuyer military families. So, welcome, Kevin. Great to have you here.
Hey, Marilyn. Great to be here. Thank you so much, and thanks to you and RE Technology for having us. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, okay, you got to tell us, what the heck is an SEO Fuel Ambassador, and why should we care?
Well, so Marilyn, a lot of, homes.com, we have a lot of similar products to some of our competitors out there, but one of our, I think, best products that we have is SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. So that's basically the work that goes into someone's website to make sure that it shows up on the top of Google organically for certain keywords or phrases. And, all these conventions I was going to, talking to people about, looking at their websites, and they're like, I didn't even know you guys had this. So basically the people at homes.com were like, Kev, we got to, make sure, basically get the word out there. And, pre-COVID, we were doing live events. Now we've just been doing all these webinars. And I think it's really great because it's a way to leverage us and our resources to further your name and your brand and your website within Google.
That's great. And, the word SEO, I think everybody has some peripheral knowledge that, yeah, I know I'm supposed to do that. I think a lot of us are kind of intimidated by it, or don't really even know what it means, or even if we do know what it means, don't know what to do about it. So people have a tendency to lean more on, well, I'll just buy leads, or I'll do other things that are going to generate energy from my business and my brand. But, maybe give us the SEO 101. First of all, what does it even stand for? What does SEO even mean? And why is it important? And how does it help you with other marketing tactics that you might use for your website?
Yeah, so SEO itself, the acronym is search engine optimization. And again, the search engine is Google or Yahoo or Bing, and the optimization is making sure that your website is working optimal, so that way it's running on all cylinders, performing at its peak on page one. And I agree with you. It's that always nagging thing that I know I'm supposed to work on my website. I know I'm supposed to do this. I'll get to it later. And then I call a client back 6 months, 6 years later, and guess what? They haven't done anything with it. And I send them articles, I send them videos. I'm like, look, here's a checklist. Just go execute it. Even 5 hours a week, just do it. And the problem is it never gets done. So similar to social media management, like people ask us for help, we give them solutions, but then it doesn't get done. So finally we said, you know what? We got to create a service or a team to actually do this for people. And then they're like, okay, so then they could get a whole, bunch of different marketing strategies from one place, but it covers a lot of different bases.
Exactly. So help us understand. I know you've got some really interesting things here. Let's just jump into it, and you can walk us through some of the things we can do ourselves, and some of the things that Homes might be able to help with, or other SEO people could help with too, if they don't want to work with you guys.
Yeah, and I'll tell you things to towards the end. I'll go over some things you should, if you're going to vet an SEO company, things you should look out for. Because I've seen people over the years trip over some things. How to do some auditing work yourself of your own site. How to actually do some of the work on your own if you want to put in a little bit of effort. But yeah, so what I want to do is just, I title this "Why SEO Matters in Today's Market." During COVID, during a pandemic, why does it matter? One big thing I really want to point out is that a lot of people are stuck at home, and what are they doing? They're getting on their phones, they're getting on their computers, and they're realizing, I got this 1-bedroom condo, I'm feeling cramped, I need something bigger. So if you actually look at Google Trends, the search word buy homes, buy house is at its all-time high since they started tracking this data in 2004. It's peaked. Now we're also seeing sell home, sell house is also trending upward. But what's also,
we need inventory.
yeah, exactly. And like, I'm in San Diego. I mean, like, inventory is very, very low. So you have people searching for a home, step one, then they're saying, okay, I need to get a mortgage. So if you look at the number of people applying for mortgages, it's up like 15, 20% week over week. And then you combine that with all-time low interest rates. So now you're finding this like perfect storm. So that's what I'm telling people. If they found a home they want, they applied for a mortgage, now they need somebody to open the door and write the contract. So if you're not there top of mind in front of people, they're going to go to the next guy that is, you know.
Exactly. No, one thing I forgot to mention up front, Kevin's got a great offer for us. He's going to actually do on our show right now, he's going to do a live analysis of a website for us to show us what you can learn from doing an analysis. So if any of you want to be the guinea pigs today, and he promises he'll be kind, in the question box, type in your URL of your website, of your personal website, and we'll see who comes up, and he'll pick one of those and give you some free analysis. Oh, here comes one already. Okay, Noreen, you were first. So
All
we'll
right,
do
well,
Noreen. Yeah, and
see.
Sandy Briggs too. Well, if you
All
have
right.
time, we'll look at both of them. But let's go.
Yeah, thank you, Sandy. I appreciate it. And that's the thing, guys. Like I'm used to doing these live, and I love the engagement. I could see people's faces, or I could ask questions. You could raise your hand. So yeah, we want to make it as interactive as possible. So again, we're all stuck at home, but let's try to have some fun. And so yeah, chat in your domain name. If you don't know your domain name, that's not a good start. But I promise I'll be kind. But yeah, it's like when you go to the doctor, do you want to hear good news or do you want to hear the truth? So it's kind of like I'll give you the truth and say like, I'll be as kind as I can, but also we got to improve it, because having a website's one thing, but if it doesn't rank, then it's not really going to produce much for you. But Marilyn, I always like to start these with, I typically like to start my talks with a quote. And this one, if anyone in the audience knows the author of this, go ahead, chat it in now. And so it's SEO is the fastest, most exciting way to invest in your business ever. So I'll let you guys, if you know who said that, go ahead, chat it in. But I just want to start with also a recent, most people, RE Technology that are here are probably familiar with the lab coat agents, Nick and Tristan. So these guys actually have been working with for the past couple of years. And if you know them, they do not endorse just any old product. So with Nick, and if you know Nick, he actually said, I'm going to give you guys my worst performing. He's got a bunch of websites. He gave us the one that was doing the least as far as organic ranking goes. And he said, I want to challenge you guys to see what you can do. And he wrote this great testimonial afterwards because he saw what we did. In 12 weeks, my website went from literally page 3,684,000 to page
Wow.
1 on Google for homes in Clarkson, MI. So again, if you know these guys and you know what they stand for, and again, so to impress them, this is probably one of my biggest accomplishments working for homes.com as their SEO fuel brand ambassador, was that I was able to work with these guys and actually show them a product, because nobody in the Lab Coat Agents group really talks about SEO because it's kind of boring, but and that's actually going to bring me back to the quote. So the author who said SEO is the fastest and most exciting way to invest in your business ever. Answer: nobody ever. And nobody ever will say that, Marilyn, because SEO is not super exciting and the results are not overnight. But the thing is, if you trust in the process and you have the long-term play in mind, historically it will be one of the best returns on investment you can get. And I'm gonna get into a little bit of that right now. And that's, again, just a little bit, just last thing about me. My name's, again, Kevin with homes.com, but for the last 10 years of my life, I've been consulting with agents, brokers, teams, mortgage companies, MLS boards on how to make sure that they are seen for their local, whatever it is that they specialize in, on a hyper local level. And just because I did this for someone like the Lab Coat Agents or like these big, massive broker owners, it doesn't matter. It's all scalable to the agent just getting licensed to the team leaders. So it's something that, Google is very fair. They're very impartial. It doesn't matter so long as you put the work in. Now, I want to emphasize the word work. And, a lot of people on here are probably more seasoned, even if you're a new agent. There's so many things to do. And what I've noticed over the years, no matter what part of the country you're tuning in from, you're all going to have some of these things in common. So I always pose a question, well, I showed you how to do it. Why haven't you done it? Now, you're all going to fall into one or two or three or all three of these categories. So number one that I've noticed over the years is that, Kevin, I don't know how.
Right.
I sell homes. I met a broker just a few years back, and he's like, Kev, I've been doing this for 40 years. I could barely turn on a computer, but I'll sell over 100 homes a year. So, I don't know how, very, very common. You guys sell homes, that's okay. The other thing is I'm too busy. I'm working a crazy job. I got kids. I got a million things, putting out fires, dealing with buyers, all this stuff, time basically. And then the last thing is I don't want to, like even the folks that I
Yeah,
work, that I consult with, like they know how to do it, but after a long day, do you want to like write a bunch of content or do you want to hang out with your family or drink a glass of wine and watch Netflix? Like, I know what I'd
exactly.
rather do, right? So that's kind of what it comes down to. And but whatever category you fall into, guys, you know, it's okay because when I just full transparency, when I got into this side of the business, I didn't know there were so many damn acronyms: SEO, MLS, IDX, NAR. My head was spinning. I didn't know what all this stuff meant. But when I spent, time dedicating to getting better at it, I was building websites for agents and I said, how come these websites don't rank well? Then we started getting to SEO. And, the thing is that, to spend 40 hours a week of my life for 10 years of my life, that's like 20,000 hours working with you realtors. That's probably why I enjoy a nice cocktail at the end of the day. But whatever it is, even if you guys put in 5 hours a week or 5 hours a month, you can also become an expert at it, with anything. So, but here's the problem that I've seen is that, well, this is a stat from the NAR, and they're saying 82% of realtors generated less than 5 inquiries from their website. And the problem for me is that I can almost say with certainty that about 90% of the audience who are paying for a website probably know the exact dollar amount that they spend on the website. But if I pose the same question, what's the exact dollar amount return on investment you've gotten from the website? I'd wager to say about less than 10% probably know that answer, and
It's hard to understand how to calculate that. And
yeah.
even with those 5 inquiries, how do you really know that that's the reason that even if one of those closed, is that really the reason that it closed? It's hard to know. So it's ROI is difficult.
It can be. I mean, if you have the right data and the right reporting tools, it can usually show you where the lead came from, how it got to you, and then you can track it. So it is usually going to be a little bit more work, but still, everyone knows like, oh, I spend so much money, I didn't get anything from it. And what I've also heard too often is that I have to do it. I have to have a website, Kev. My sellers like it. It's an online business card. And look, here's the thing, guys. I'm going to call BS on that because you don't have to spend money on anything. You can spend money in a lot of different places in marketing, but you don't have to spend money on a website. And if you do, and you don't care, and it's not going to rank well, it's not going to produce anything, I'll flat out tell you, get rid of it. Take that 200, 300 bucks a month on website hosting, and then put it into something. Take your clients out to coffee or to lunch or something. Or another great thing I always hear, Marilyn, is well, Kev, I sell more homes than that person. My website looks better than that person, or I've been in the business so many more years. How come they're ranking above me? I should be outranking them. And I'll say like, look, here's the secret. Google doesn't care. Google doesn't care if your website costs $1 million or it costs $5. All they care about is who's putting in the work consistently. So again, it's kind of an equalizer. But before you fix anything, you have to start with and that's the thing. There's no magic bullet to it, unfortunately. It's kind of like I always say, steady diet and exercise versus like popping a pill from an infomercial and drop 20 pounds quick. Like SEO is kind of the long, steady climb, whereas like a pay-per-click or like a quick lead program, it's here today, gone tomorrow. So again, you got to like kind of like plant the seed and you'll reap the benefits of search and optimizing your website. So here's what I want to do though. And when I say work, I just want to like really put a graphic out there to show you guys like this is a typical month's workload of how many things. Like don't just go at it blindly. And if anyone needs a screenshot or recording, like this is just a typical checklist for us when we optimize one person's website, how many sort of checks and balances we have to go down just to make sure that we're basically keeping Google happy. Like you're doing all the work that they want to see to make sure that they're going to keep you ranking up there.
Well, this list right here shows you why we need help, because most of us don't even know what half those words mean, never mind what to do about them. So that's why we
Yeah.
need you.
Well, and for the people who are more motivated, they sit down like, all right, I'm going to do it. What do I do? You know, like I allocated the time, I blocked that on my calendar. What now? You know, so
Right.
it's like you got to kind of go into battle with a plan. So, you know, knowing what to do, but then also having the time to sort of, you know, execute it. So, but three things that I will go over today is number one is that how do you get your website to outrank the listing portals like us, homes.com, Zillow, realtor.com, Trulia? How do you do that? Because it is possible. Two, I'm also going to show you a couple free tools that anyone can use to analyze their own website. You can even analyze your competitors' websites just within a matter of 2 minutes. And then three is like immediate steps to gain organic ranking. Like what can I do today that's going to be an actionable item to actually start chipping away and starting the process. But the first thing I always tell people is that before you can, you know, and common myth, common misconception is that you don't necessarily want more traffic. You know, a lot of people think more. The idea is though is that you want the right kind of traffic. Like you don't want just anybody and everybody coming to your website, because then you're getting random people that, you know, probably can't buy a car, let alone a home. So you want to make sure that you're kind of like taking a targeted approach to the people that you're driving to the website. But you know, here's the first step. Before you fix any problem, you do need to diagnose it, right? So a couple tools that I'm going to show you guys now, and actually, Marilyn, we'll grab one of the volunteers
Okay.
if you want to. Here, so two sites, guys, that you can use: SEMrush and SpyFu.com. SEMrush.com, SpyFu.com. Now, here's the other thing I don't want to do. I don't want to give you two websites. You go to them, you look at it, it hurts your head, and then you just close out of them and never go back. I want to show you guys, because I've seen that happen too. I want to show you guys how to use these sites so you don't get lost, because you can go down a rabbit hole very, very quickly. So let me.
So I'm going to give you the link here. I'll put it in the chat for you.
Yep.
It is Noreen, Noreen, and Wayne.com. They were first into the box, so they get to go first.
All right. So I spelled it right. NoreenandWayne.com.
Wayne.com. Yep.
Okay, so guys, step one, go to spyfu.com, plug in a domain name, hit
Okay.
enter. Now, so typically I'm going to ask for another one because
Okay.
the one thing, normally what I would see is if you look on the top left where it says organic keywords, you'd see like 2, 10, 500, a million. So I'm not seeing any organic keywords. So that just tells me, Noreen, that you haven't done any optimization work, and that's okay. One positive I do want to point out is down here, 12 years and 2 months. This is going to show you your years of ranking history. So this is neat because this is something that you can't actually buy. So this is something that you have, you know, gained over the years, and Google likes this. So this is something that we could work with. Now, if you look onto the right where it says paid search, PPC, pay per click, those are the phone calls you guys probably get like 5 times a week from some guy with an accent saying like, hey, I work for Google, I'll get you there tomorrow. Just want to break it to you guys, Google is not cold calling you to gain your business, okay? It's sorry, I don't mean to damage anyone's ego, but Facebook won't call you, Google will not call you. Nobody that works for those companies are calling you. It's somebody who's trying to sell you paid ads on Google. It's gonna like charge you a fee to do it.
Gotcha. Let's try Realty Connection Group.
Realty.
Connectiongroup.com. We have a couple others too, so we can keep going. We can see
Okay.
what we get ones.
Okay, so here we go. So same idea. You look at the top left, organic keywords. You look down below, years of ranking history, no pay-per-click. Okay, so I like it. So now when you click right onto the number 281 on the left, I like to start with a bird's eye view. I'll get into the keyword in a second, but right up here above it where it says SEO overview, click on that.
Okay.
And then what it's going to do is kind of show you, it's going to give me a ratio. So I can take a bird's eye view, 281 keywords, that's a lot. But if you look off to the right, you can see out of 281, there's 61 on page 1. So while the ratio, you know, is a little bit, it's never going to be perfectly even, but it's a little bit lopsided. So,
What
but
does
I
that
get
mean, 61 on page one? Tell us what that means.
right. So your page, meaning page one of Google is the search, is, when you do a Google search for anything, the organic results, you're going to have numbers like 1 through 10. Page
Right.
2 would be 11 through 20. Page 3 is 21 through 30, and so on.
Okay.
So when I look at this, like I would get excited about this because you got 220 keywords that are on pages 2 to 5 of Google. So for me, that's a lot of low-hanging fruit. That's potential right there.
Great.
So now if you want to actually see what keywords are they and where are they specifically ranking. So if you look here, now if you want to go down the rabbit hole, you can get into things like ranking difficulty, because some keywords are going to be more difficult to rank for than others. Like California homes for sale would be so difficult, but it's also so broad, you wouldn't actually want that. So if you look on the left, it'll show you the keyword they rank for and then the position they're in. So homes for sale in Downey, you're ranking 17th, which is page 2.
Okay.
Houses for sale in Downey, California, 17th, page 2 of Google. Houses for sale in Downey, CA, 18th. Downey Homes, Realtor Downey. So I'm assuming that you're working a lot in Downey, would be would be my assumption here. But so I would say a lot of your keywords are structured well, but here's one thing that you also need to look at, guys, is page targeting or page indexing. Meaning, if you have a keyword and you rank and you see like right underneath the keyword on the left, you can see if you click on that link, it'll show you what page you're landing on the most in people's webs, like what page they're being directed to. I always say if I'm searching, so like if they search for something specific, like I want, first time military housing or something like that, that's very specific. Don't bring them back to the home page of your website because that's not what they wanted.
Right.
Just like if you're searching left-handed blue Callaway golf clubs, don't bring me back to golfclubs.com. You know what I mean? Like they wanted
Mhm.
something specific, show them. So yeah, I mean, a site like this, I would really love to talk further about, and we can, but then I like to reverse engineer it because I say to myself, okay, he's got 280 keywords. How come only 61 are on page 1?
Mhm.
Then I'm going to take you to this other site, guys. This is semrush.com. And these two
Okay.
sites will show you a lot of similar information. It's just one visually is a little bit easier to see, whereas I use SEMrush for something to check on, which I'm going to dive into a little bit more in a few minutes. So backlinks. I'm going to dive into this in just a little bit, but without enough content being created, you're not establishing enough backlinks to bigger, more reputable sites. So it's kind of like you want to piggyback off of the traffic of another site. So for over 200 keywords, but only 392 backlinks with 5 years of ranking history, this is where we're starting to like figure out like what the problem is. And it's a
Okay.
very, very common problem. It's just it's again, when you're not creating enough content, which I'm going to talk about here shortly, that's usually the problem. And that's everyone's Achilles heel is, creating enough content, but then also getting backlinks established, because each backlink is kind of like a trust signal to Google. And I'll show you guys one. I'll actually show you a backlink here in a minute, and then what you can do to establish more of them. So that's really quick, just like 101, how to use those two websites. And you can type in, again, your domain name, you can type in your competitor's domain name, and you'll see all the keywords they rank for and how many backlinks they have. So that's pretty much the 101, how to use those two sites. So again, don't go into it blindly, know what you're looking for, and then from there you could start the healing process a little bit, okay? And I just wanted to, again, so we talked about Nick Baldwin of Lab Coat Agents, but Tristan, one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. He's like such a sweet guy, but he does literally everything that's out there, any new technology, any forms of advertising. But he said like SEO is massively important because when you are competing against larger sites like Open Door, Redfin, NAR, Homes.com, anyone, you need to have funds that are specifically allocated to targeting that little pocket, that little community. Just using, I live in San Diego. It's one of the biggest counties in the country. And you can go from the border of Mexico all the way up to Oceanside. That's a few hours away. but you would want to like target a really small couple pockets of San Diego. So same idea, but that's just, again, a little quote that came from Tristan at Keller
I,
Williams Family.
I like what he's saying too, because I think if you think about trying to beat Redfin nationally, which is how I think some people think, that's never going to happen with as an agent, right? Or as even as a broker. But
No.
like you say, it's just your community. You don't need to beat Redfin and Homes.com everywhere. Just in your small community that makes sense for you, and
Yeah.
that is doable, right?
Think of like the keywords you want to rank for. Think of like if you are going to do print marketing, are you going to send it all over the county? No, you're going to target like where you live and like the little pockets that you really want to focus on. That's your
Right.
farm. So think of SEO and keywords kind of the same way. Is you start hyper local and then you could always grow and expand over time, because you're not going to outrank Redfin overnight. But I will show you how you can actually beat a site like a Redfin or again a listing portal, because you got to work smart, you got to work hard, but also smart. And the way that, so I mentioned it earlier, is that you don't want to be everything to everyone. So know your niche, like your niche. You got to know, like, do I want to work with luxury home buyers and sellers? Do I want to work with renters, investors, military relocation? Whoever it is, that's the way that you got to kind of approach it. And I took a screenshot. I don't know how well it's showing up, but I took a screenshot of a client of ours that we've been optimizing his site for a couple of years now, and you can see he actually outranks Zillow, he outranks Weichert, Sotheby's, he outranks us, Homes.com. Why would we do that? The reason that we would, optimize, because he's happy. If his website's performing well, guess what? He doesn't want to stop having us optimize his website. But at the same time, so it is possible to get your website to outrank the bigger listing portals, but you got to be very targeted in the keywords that you are going to work towards.
Well, let me ask
Um,
you a question about that. It's really interesting that you say that. Like, so I assume, Kevin, because you work for Homes, some of the secret sauce you're using is things that Homes has seen that works. Is that true? Like, are you
yeah,
borrowing from your corporate expertise on SEO?
that's exactly it. And that's what I tell people, like when someone says, oh, you're doing lab coat agents, you're homes.com, Remax. I don't know if you knew this, but Remax.com was a homes.com powered website for
I didn't
almost
know
a
that.
decade.
Yep.
So that's what I always tell people, it's the same work, the same strategy, except you're not targeting the whole country. You're not even targeting your whole state, sometimes not even your whole county. So it's the same exact work. It's just shrinking it down to a smaller scale. And that's another thing that I tell people is like, some of our competitors, they don't care about your business. They don't care about your website. So when we created this, search and SEO program, I think it really clicked with people because they're like, wait a minute, I'm going to leverage homes.com's resources to further my website in Google. Okay, like, yeah, let's do that. Um, and yeah, so the more specific you can be, the better. And I tried to take a screenshot. We blew this up. I hope you guys can see it. But this client I have in Georgia, they're very targeted with who they want to work with. So some of their keywords are retired home buying services, Athens, Georgia; golf club homes, Statham, Georgia; home buying, home buyers. So they obviously work in the golf communities and they work a lot with retirees. So again, you want to take a sniper rifle approach, not a hand grenade. Again, you don't want to just bring more traffic because that's going to cloud things. You want to bring the right kind of traffic to your website. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the thing. Also, not all leads are created equal. Like some people, that's why they have the lead funnel. Top of funnels like 12 months out. Bottom funnels like, I want to write a contract tomorrow. So similar ideas that you got to diversify your lead flow. So leads coming from social, leads coming from your website, your SEO, or some of the portals. They're going to be at different phases. But I love analogies, but SEO is kind of like the 401k of real estate marketing. Like it's not going to give you like a big sexy return tomorrow, but when you start chipping away at it over time, it will yield high returns. So again, just like investing in real life, you don't put all your money into one vehicle. You got to kind of mix it up. So same idea when it comes to marketing, is that you got to diversify. And but there's also a lot of different things that you need to be good at. So putting on your, in real estate, you're a business owner. Putting on your business owner hat, it's like, I got to do all this stuff. I got to maintain my sphere of influence, social media, manage my website, get my listings exposure, hold open houses. you can't do it all. Like you really can't. So at some point you have to delegate certain jobs to certain people. So we want to make sure that, again, when it comes to the SEO aspect, at least we can take that off your plate. Now I want to get into so before I get into kind of like the meat and potatoes, did we have any questions about any of that stuff, Marilyn?
I don't think so. We're hearing a couple people saying they cannot hear you for some reason. If you guys can hear me, I would go to this tab called audio and try computer audio, or try, if you're on computer and you can't hear it, click on phone call, and then maybe you can try to dial in, because I'm not having any trouble with Kevin. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what's happening. But
Okay.
go ahead.
All right, I'll move closer. But yeah, I want to make sure, because this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the whole, webinar, is like, how do you do it? How do you get to page 1 of Google? There's basically 2 main components that Google cares about. It's relevancy and trust. Without those 2 things, Google will not rank you. And there's also, it's broken down into on-site optimization and off-site optimization. Okay, so I'm going to break these each down one by one. So relevance is considered on-site SEO or on-site optimization. It's basically, what is Google looking for in or on your website? Okay, so obviously the content within it, is it fresh? Is it relevant? Is it up to date? Is the site mobile responsive? If there's images, are they up to date? Are they described correctly? Does the site load quickly enough? So there are a lot of different checks that Google is going to look at for the information in or on your website. Okay, now also, because some of this stuff can be a little intimidating, so I want to just, again, peel back the curtain, let you know it's not all that scary. So when it comes to on-page or on-site optimization, there's a few terms that people see and hear, and they get confused, or maybe they don't know what it is. But H1 tag, I'm going to break these down. H1 tags, alt titles for images, meta description. I know some people are probably falling asleep right now, but I'll break these down. And but then the last bullet point I did also want to highlight is there a clear call to action? Because you can get all the traffic in the world coming to your website, but if people come in and then they leave, you basically lost an opportunity. You have a high then bounce rate. Okay, so always make sure that your site can capture information. And the back end of, I don't care who your website's with, if it's with Real Geeks, Sierra Interactive, iHouse, Homes.com, whatever it is, Agent Image, either way, you're all going to have a control panel somewhere in there. Now, a lot of the clients I talk to don't even know the login to their website, it's not a good start, but it's okay. But I always recommend getting familiar with it. So when you log in, there's going to be some section where you can edit the pages. This is just an example of a Homes.com website, but you can see, like, how do I change my title, my keywords, my meta description? It's really simple, but you guys got to get in there at least once a month, would make me happy. Now, I want to break down a few things. Title tags, like, what is that? Basically, when you do a Google search, you get your results. That first set of words that comes up in blue, that's going to be your title tag. Okay. Now, it has to have something to do with the actual keyword that I typed in. So you can see at the top, the search term was "sell my house fast in Boston." And you see the title for each one of these, it has something to do with that subject matter. Okay. Title tags. So far, so good? Okay.
And that's, if I would go back into that where you were showing on the dashboard and be able, inside of my website, to change those.
There you go. Everyone's got it. No matter who the website's provided by, you have a control panel. You can change these things. So yeah, it'll be right in there.
Okay.
So that's title tags. Pretty simple. Now, H1 title or H1 tags. So think of every page within your website as like a newspaper. The headline is what sells the entire paper when it's sitting out on the stand. Same idea for the pages within your website. The first title, or the first, so just think of like, and they're going to be descending on a level of importance. So I also put this here. So like heading 1 is the top of the page. It's like buying a home during COVID. Heading 2 would be safety precautions. Heading 3, getting pre-approved. Heading 4, like, meeting a realtor. So again, guys, when it comes to the pages of content within your website, you need to edit them and make sure that the heading or the H1 tags are the most important and then kind of on a descending order as the page goes down. Because most people are lazy, they don't really read the whole thing. They're going to start with the top.
Right.
So you want to make sure that the heading or the H1 tag is the most powerful, impactful, title. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, alternative titles for images.
This is what
I
always
put
gets me crazy. I see all those little dots and question marks, and I go, what is all that? You're scaring me. So tell us what
Yeah,
that is. Why I shouldn't be scared.
exactly. So what Google sees, just think, Google scans your website like a robot. All the funny photos and the pretty photos of kitchens and all that stuff. That's what we see, the little smiley face. What Google sees is like, again, a robot. So you got to understand that but also you have to factor in two things. One, the vision impaired. They can't see images, so they have to listen. They listen on audio, like what your website's saying, but also some people on their browser settings, they can turn off images. So that way, instead of like a long article, it shortens it up because you cut out all the fluff, all the images. So what Google does is they make sure that if you have an image or video in your any page of your site, on the back end, you need to make sure that you've described that image correctly, so that way it'll keep Google happy, and all potential people reading your website, it'll be able to cater to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This
So that's,
is this where when you hear about ADA compliance, is this where people get in trouble where they're not effectively describing what's going on the website, and then they get
it, it,
they get in trouble for that?
that's exactly right. Because again, if you're not catering to, your website needs to accommodate all, so that's the idea, is that you got to make sure that you're doing everything. So, and again, when people work on their website and they walk away for a few months, a lot changes on Google, changes daily. So you need to, you can't really walk away for a few months. You can't ignore it, unfortunately. It's going to get worse. So that's the alternative titles or alt titles. Okay. Now, meta description. I said this word I said this to a client of mine, and they're like, eyes kind of like got all wide and glazed over, and then they passed out. But it's really not that. So meta description is just right underneath the title. It's that little set of words. But when you're going to change the meta description, only 160 characters. Okay.
Mhm.
But also you want to make sure that you see like some of the words are bolded. So you want to make sure that some of these words within the meta description are bolded, but also they match some of the words in the actual search term. Okay, so just that little set of information right underneath the title.
So if I
Okay.
go into my website and I went in the section called meta description,
Hmm.
there's an editor that allows you to bold certain things if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. I'll flip back a couple. I mean,
Okay.
again, just using the homes.com dashboard as as an example, right at the
Yeah.
bottom, meta description.
But how do I make it how do I make it bold in
Well,
there?
when you actually click, it'll bring up where you can edit, bold,
Okay. Little,
italicize things.
little
Yeah,
HTML editor. Okay, got it.
yeah, exactly. So everyone's back end is going to be a little bit different, but you'll all have the capabilities to do that. Um, okay, so that's going to be meta description. Okay, so now that's all on-site optimization, everything in or on the site, the pages found within, all the stuff on the back end of the site. Now, that's relevance, making sure that the site has relevant information. Now, how do we gain trust with Google? Because this is two parts. Like, your site's relevant, great. How do we gain trust with Google that they want to send people to it? So this is kind of like thinking broader scale. This is where you have to create enough content on a consistent basis and get it seen on to a bigger audience. Like, meaning, and this is a phrase that people throw around a lot, and that's why I put it up here. Content
Hmm.
is king. And
Hmm.
I hear this all the time: content, content, content. And I agree with you. Yes, content is king, but you have to get credit for it. I'll give you an example. The last event I was at, Keller Williams Family Reunion, second to last. Keller Williams Family Reunion, when I was on a panel with Nick and Tristan talking about SEO, this guy in the audience said, like, Kev, I'm blogging every day, every single day, but I'm not gaining traction from it. Sure enough, we diagnosed his site, and it turns out, while yes, he was blogging every day, he just wasn't getting credit for it. Like if a tree falls in the woods, same idea, is that if you write great content but no one reads it, it doesn't really matter. So I alluded to this earlier, which was backlinks. So if I write an article and I send it out to my sphere of a couple hundred people, that's great. Or if I write an article about home buying in San Diego during a pandemic, and I publish it on your website, Marilyn, on RE Technology, you guys
Mhm.
got, you know, thousands of readers and subscribers and more eyeballs than I could ever reach. But so that's kind of the trick, is that when I write an article and I publish it on your site, RE Technology, there's going to be a link in there that people can click on and come from your site back to my website. So, you know, it's kind of like I'm piggybacking off of the traffic of
So
your
if
site.
I'm in a local market, like what kinds of websites would an agent try to get someone else to post for them? Like their Chamber of Commerce, or like what kinds of websites would you go for?
Yeah, great idea. Chamber of Commerce, any local vendors, you know, mortgage, title companies, escrow companies.
Got
I mean, you can even go to a team or another agent that's bigger than yourself and just say, hey man, like I wrote this cool blog, like would you be willing to post it on your site? And then if it's good and they're like, yeah, that looks good. So again, you're kind of piggybacking off of the larger, actually, I think I created a graphic. Yeah, so that's called backlinking. So basically you're piggybacking off of a site that's bigger than your own, and then you can kind of benefit from their traffic. And then as you grow in size and momentum, people are going to want to backlink to you. So it's kind of like paying, you know, paying it forward a little bit. So the backlink portion, sometimes I lose people there. Did everyone with me? Other
I've got
questions?
a couple of questions, not specifically about that, but one person's asking, Noreen's asking, is LinkedIn a good place to put a link to my network there to get them to click back to my website?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to hurt you, Noreen. It's just that it's, you know, LinkedIn is a social network, so it's kind of like posting something on Facebook or Instagram. Like it's only going to reach the people that you know. It's not like LinkedIn is approving you to write content on their site. So I would start, if you're going to do this yourself, I would start smaller first before you approach like an RE Technology or like some massive, like nationally recognized, you know, provider.
Noreen has one more question too. She said she's the first website you looked at. She said, I've added keywords on my blog post at on Noreen and Wayne. It seems like that doesn't matter. Looking at what you saw on her SEO results, is that true, do you think? Or any suggestions for her about keywords on blog posts?
Yeah, I mean, having the right words in, like if you write content, having the right words in there is going to help. But again, if it's not, there must be something wrong, because I can go back and check your backlinks on SEMrush, but there's got to be something missing that you're not gaining any traction for it. So we can chat afterwards. I'll do like a deeper dive and figure out and diagnose further. Because yeah, to have 12 years of ranking history and you are working, but have no keywords that I can recognize, something's off, I would say.
Okay.
Another, and this came up last time, is that somebody asked, how many backlinks should I have? And I just want to, you know, I said, well, more, because when it comes to keywords, it's quality over quantity. You don't need 1,000
Okay.
keywords, okay? When it comes to keywords, you could have 2 or 3 that are really strong and hyper local. Backlinks, on the other hand, yes, you always need more, but they also need to be back. You need to be making good connections. Like a realtor backlinking to, you know, like a mortgage company or a nationally recognized real estate website, that shows Google like a strong backlink. But also you need to diversify. You can't just have 20,000 backlinks go to one single website. That shows that you're kind of being lazy, you know, because if you're a realtor and you're backlinked 20,000 times to like a chair manufacturer, like that doesn't make any sense. Google's like, you're kind of like confusing Google. And so when it comes to content and backlinks, you need more, and to high quality sites, but also diversifying how many sites you're backlinking to. Okay. So yeah, good question, Noreen. I'll follow up with you afterwards. We can chat a bit more about your site specifically, but I just wanted to leave off with that. When it comes to content and backlinks, more. When it comes to keywords, you don't necessarily need more. They just need to be of higher quality. Okay. Now, I mentioned earlier, like, how can you beat a homes.com or a bigger brokerage or like a larger listing portal? A couple different ways. One is that you got to think, us and our competitors, we don't have a local business. So people can't come see us in person and work with us. You guys do. This is one of the easiest ways for free that you can actually outrank the larger listing portals. Because like if you're like us in California, to buy an investment property, it's pretty difficult. So, if we want to look out of state, like in Florida or Texas or wherever, one of the first places I'm going to go to find a realtor is the Google Maps section. Pre-COVID, my significant other, she would go local restaurant that just opened up in San Diego, and we'd read reviews, we'd look at the menu and find directions to it. So real estate is very similar, guys. This is like gold for realtors. If you're not showing up here, you need to start, okay? But also,
How do you
again,
do
like,
that? I had a question. How do you add your Google Map to your website?
so believe it or not, it's actually, because if you said, well, I have an office here physically, but I also want to show up there and there and there and there, Google's hip to it. So you're not going to outsmart Google. So what they do is they actually send you a postcard in the mail to make sure that you are at that physical address. So you need to
Ah,
index yourself into the Google business or the Google Maps section. So you need to have a physical address that you can associate yourself with.
okay.
Okay.
And then you go to Google to get on their directory in effect, and then you add it back to your website, or how does that work?
Yeah, so when you go into the Google, your Google settings, there'll be a way that you can contact them to verify your address, and then from
Mhm.
there, you always want to be updating it, adding photos, getting client reviews, because everyone's fixated on reviews on, say, like a Zillow or something. But if Zillow ever went away, those reviews would be gone. Google, on the other hand, like they're really never going to go away. So you always want to be. And again, I'm not saying just get reviews on one, get them on, different websites so you have a diversification of even reviews. But that's one way that you can immediately beat us, the bigger listing portals. Because again, we're not local, you guys are. These people can go meet you and have coffee with you, and well, maybe not now, but like still, they know where you are, you're physically located, you're local. Okay. Uh,
Perfect. Okay.
Now, just another quick quote. Gary Miller, broker owner in Colorado, and I took this quote specifically because I love what he said. Like Gary's, been in the business forever. He knows how to do his stuff. But what he said is, what I need is a tech company that can do the tech for me. He sells homes.
Hmm.
Now that we partnered with Homes.com, I'm getting monthly updates on all the results, and we've moved from page 11 to page 1 of Google in just a few months. So the reason that I bolded the word partnered is because, again, when we optimize someone's website, it's not like you have to have a homes.com website. If you're using a platform you're comfortable with, great. All we do is you're kind of like adding us as like an independent contractor or as like an admin. So that way we can plug into your site, give it, boost it with like steroids for a few months, get it ranking well, and then like it's not like we own the website, it's always yours and your traffic. So again, you're partnering with us and you're deploying our resources to benefit you. Now, one thing I did want to show, because I think it is important, is I want to just quickly, because we got time, but I want to actually show you guys kind of what I mean by when I say work and I talk about all this stuff. I did want to log you in and show you a live example. So whoever your website's provided through, what we would do is build something like this. So this gives you, the customer, the ability to log in and see kind of like an overview. And we don't want to, over complicate things. So we put in these little question marks along the way, explain in plain English, like what traffic means, what all this stuff is. Like as the business owner, even if you don't understand half of that, you understand, are they working? Are we progressing up the hill? Are we getting results? And when does my contract renew? So
Right.
everything there is just plain English. Now, getting into a little bit deeper, if I say, hey, Marilyn, I'm going to work on your site, I'm probably going to work 100 hours. I'm going to spend 100 hours of my time every month. You're going to say,
Hmm.
what are you doing with that time? If you look off to the left under work history, it'll show you exactly every single month we've ever worked for someone. It would even break it down by, say, category. So that way there's no, fudging the numbers. And the reason that I'm showing this is because this is a typical month's workload
Hmm.
of one person's website. So
So
that's how much.
So two things that strike me on this. One is it's a heck of a lot of work, and I don't know any realtor that has time to do this and or the skill set. The second is you're providing full transparency, which we've worked with, and we've worked with clients that have worked with people. Some have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on SEO firms gurus, as so many people call it. As soon as someone says they're a guru, I'm like, I don't want to talk to you anymore,
Yeah.
right? But they don't provide this type of transparency at all. You have no idea what they're doing. And you have no idea if your site's doing better, if it's because of this work or if it's just for some other reason.
Exactly. And I've seen people get burned on that over the years. They're like, oh, I'm paying somebody to do this. I said, well, cool. Show me what they're doing. Well, what do you, and then they're like, wait, what do you mean? So, well, you said someone's working. Like, what are they doing? So
Exactly.
if you don't have the ability to log in on your own time, or like, well, they'll send me a report when I request it. It's like, no, no, no. You need to be able to get in and see exactly how much time we're spending, how are we allocating it, and even like, how quickly are we getting results, so like the date that we started, the rank position we were in, which keyword, and just using something like this as an example, you see we started in February of 2016, and now,
Mhm.
yeah, he was on page 6 of Google. Now he's on page 1, but that's great. How long did it take? So, I mean, it's not an overnight thing, but because we want to be ultra transparent, we'll show you the date that we started in February, and then when we cracked onto page 1 by, April.
Wow. And then
So,
he stayed there ever since, which is
and then
awesome.
exactly. So you see the timeline. So it's not an overnight thing. I'm very upfront about that. But if it takes a few months, the idea is that we're building a dependency in a positive way. Because like if
Now,
you
do
do
you
some,
have to use a homes.com website to have this dashboard? Or is this
no,
for any kind of website? Any kind of website that I want to use it for?
that's what's great, because changing websites is a pain in the neck. So if you're comfortable with the site you have, and there are sites that I prefer to work on because they do a lot of different things really,
Mhm.
really well, but SEO is just not something that's offered. Or they say, well, my website's SEO friendly. What that means is basically like, yeah, you can optimize it, but they're not actually doing the optimization work.
For
Uh,
you. Right.
so
No, Noreen had a great question too about the keyword. So, as you said, content is a key part of this. So, do you advise folks on the types of content that or the types of keywords they should be writing around to make sure their content is valuable?
Yeah, I mean, you want to, again, if you're talking about luxury homes, you're talking about trailer parks. I mean, it doesn't matter. That's the content that you need to focus on. Again, being hyper local. If you're talking about single family homes I'm in San Diego. North Park is a little neighborhood within San Diego. So if you're talking about that specifically, that's what you need to focus on. Again, sniper rifle, not hand grenade approach. Um, and the idea with someone like the client I'm showing you just as an example, I mean, we've been optimizing a site since 2016, because once the site starts performing well, there's no way in hell they want to stop, because all we're
Exactly.
doing, and again, like analytics, some people love this, other people's eyes just glaze over. But I always say it's better to have more information than less. So if you want to see your daily page views, visitor count, which search engine people are coming from the most, which page are landing on the most, I mean, this is all here. So again, we don't want to hide the work we're doing. We actually want to show off the work we're doing. So every article we write, every backlink we create, it's all there. It's all accounted for. Um, so that's kind of like what we build for people. So you have access to it 24/7. Now, again, just quickly, a couple benefits. I know I touched on a few of these, but number one, it builds your brand, guys. When you spend time working on your website and your search engine optimization, instead of spending thousands of dollars a month on what people tell me is a necessary evil, driving traffic to other websites, so you show up as one of multiple agents, spend some money and drive traffic to your website so you're the only agent. And then your relationship with Google is yours forever. It's not something that can be taken away from you.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, there's a bunch of questions coming in now, Kevin.
mhm.
Um, Someone said, how should we create an effective domain name? How important is it your domain name? That's a good question.
It's not, I get asked that a lot. It's not as important as you think. Now, if I had joesmith.com versus San Diego homesforsale.com, yeah, one's definitely going to be more valuable than the other. But you're going to get a lot of sometimes what I call like accidental traffic, meaning people might
Hmm.
just like go and type in www.san-diego-homesforsale.com. They're not actually searching for a keyword. They typed in a domain name. So you might get some of that accidental traffic. Does it
Okay.
factor into the equation? Yes. Is it as important? No. Just like, should I have more domain names? Years ago, yeah, you could buy 20,000 domains pointed towards one site and you would be very rich with Google. What we've noticed though over the past few years is actually having too many domains point towards one site, it actually confuses Google.
Hmm.
So if you have like one primary and one or two subdomains, it's okay. But no, the domain itself does not matter as much as it used to.
Gotcha. And Cheyenne has a question. Does it make sense to use Google Keyword Trend Search or Keyword Planner to think about what keywords to use?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who better to consult with than Google? And if you want like the ultimate holy grail, like if you type in SEO starter guide, the first organic link comes straight from Google, and it'll show you literally step by step. So the more that you dig into this, the better, and the more resources that come from Google, the better. But yeah, absolutely. And if you're gonna do a pay-per-click campaign, absolutely. But even with SEO, definitely use those resources, 100%.
We've got
Um,
one more question, but I think you're going to answer it, so I'm going to let that one roll, and if not, we'll come back to it. Let's keep going.
yeah, I was just gonna say another benefit that a lot of people overlook because they have the short term in mind, they don't have the long term strategy. Like short term solutions are like pay per click or some other lead programs that like, yeah, I want leads today. But what's cool about SEO, well said no one ever. But what's cool about SEO is that the more that you put into it, the more you get residual, like it's snowball. So like if Google trusts your site and you got a couple keywords, we call them main keywords and halo. They're kind of like your main markets and your secondary or sub markets. When your main markets are doing well, Google's like, all right, this guy's doing the work. All of a sudden, they want to reward you by sending more people to your site and gaining you ranking faster. So it's one of the only services that you can spend time or money on where you will build, residual results from it and benefits from it, which is great. And even I pulled up a graphic here of another client of ours, but you can see like over time he started out down here and then the graph went up and up and up. Some of it's going to be seasonal, of course, but again, when you get the ball rolling, it will continue. But I think one of the best benefits is that leads are exclusive. If people come to
Right.
your website, again, with other programs, it's speed to lead. You and 5 other agents got the same lead, whoever calls it first. When leads come to your website, they can't contact anyone else. If your website is going to do its job and capture their information, they're not going to work with another realtor. So it all comes to you, it's all yours.
Perfect.
Um, And so I mentioned it earlier, like what should you, if you're gonna outsource this, you're like, Kev, I get it. I know the benefits. I'm not gonna do it myself. I don't want to do it myself. I'm gonna hire someone. What should you look for? Instead, a couple things, and again, I've learned from others' mistakes, and that's why I put these in here. Number one, transparency. If you're gonna pay someone to work for you and they're not gonna show you what they're doing, run, or at least proceed with caution. Okay, I think transparency is lacking, and that's why a lot of SEO companies get a bad name, is because they got burned by some guy who said one of the gurus who said he's going to do something, and guess what? They didn't do it, or I spent a bunch of money, I didn't get anything from it. So lack of transparency, make sure that that is there. Number two is industry knowledge. I always say, because I had someone tell me once, well, my daughter's home from college, she's going to update my Facebook and Instagram. I'm like, does your daughter know, or your son, your daughter, your buddy down the street, do they know what an IDX feed is, what listing syndication does, what an MLS board is, or like, well, no. So then you have to teach the industry to the person that's going to work for you. So I always say, like, if you could have someone who works in the industry do this stuff for you, you don't really have to teach them as much. And then number three is make sure that the work belongs to you. Because someone says, hey, you can work, I'll give you a website, I'll give you a domain, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. If you ever try to break up with that person, they're probably gonna try to keep the house, meaning like they're gonna wanna keep the website, keep the domain, the backlinks, the traffic. So making sure that, again, someone like us just plugs in and then we unplug if you ever fire us. So I think that those are three things definitely to avoid. And the other thing I get asked all the time is, what does it cost? Like, I get it, how much is it? It depends. Single agent, small market versus broker owner, large market. It varies, and it's based on how much time someone has to work. In a big Houston, Texas market with 5 offices, we have to work 100 hours a month. Small fish, smaller market, we can get away with 20 hours a month. But also depends what our starting position is. And normally I would poll the audience, but because we're a little bit tight, I'll just settle the score, because SEO companies charge an hourly rate. What should SEO cost per hour? I'll just settle it for us because that's what everyone does. Google it. Google's first organic answer, it's 100 to 150 per hour. Or if you nerd out on this stuff like I do, we actually go and analyze the best SEO companies. You know, again, their rates are going to be, if you look on the right, like 100, 150 an hour. Plus, most companies are going to charge a one-time fee right up front because they need to audit your website to make sure that they're even wanting to work on it. And they got to analyze your competitors, do the keyword research. So the one-time fee up front typically is about $1,000 and call it like $100 an hour times 100 hours per month. I mean, you're looking at like 10 grand. Reason for that is because when companies don't specialize in one single industry, they have to be a jack of all trades. Real estate,
Right.
restaurant, retail, hair salon, car dealership. Homes.com, we figured it out. We don't want to be great at every industry. We just do real estate SEO. So realtors, mortgage lenders, titles, it has to be within the real estate realm. So for us, what we got it down to where we can still be profitable, but also offer you guys a good rate is we do our one-time fee for our 2-day audit that we charge is $500. And that's for us to analyze your site, dig into your backlinks, dig into your keywords, discovery. But we also analyze some of your competitors. Then we do our keyword research and build in that whole dashboard I showed you guys. And then hourly rate that we only charge $50 per hour. So 50 versus 150, you know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you times $50 an hour times 100 hours, it's much more appealing than $100 an hour. But Marilyn, what we did with you guys, because we really appreciate RE Technology and for, you know, having us on today, well, having me on, not us, but homes.com. What we're doing is, this is the slides. If I didn't go live, I had the slides ready to show pricing, but what we're doing for you guys, anybody on the webinar today, anybody that comes over to us from RE Technology, and because we're also, you know, we're all in this, you know, this pandemic, it's affecting everyone. Whatever side of the industry you're on, it does affect us in our businesses. So we don't want people to take in all this information and then do nothing. So anybody that wants I'll also even offer myself, I'll do a free half-hour consultation. Even if you're using an SEO company and don't want to hire us, I'll still take a look at it and make sure that they're doing the right work. So
Okay.
I'll offer myself free, just text that number if you want, and I'll set up a one-on-one consultation to go over your current stuff. Or if you're like, hey, I need your services, I'll come up with a customized strategy that's not only going to fit your business in the next 3 months, for the next 3 years, the next 30 years, because you guys have to have an exit strategy. Turn your website into an asset that somebody wants to buy. Because when you sell your company and you have a website on page 20, no one wants it. It's a problem. It's a liability. But if you sell your company and your website's running on page 1, performing, that's an asset people want. So anybody on the webinar today from RE Technology, just send us a text, send an email, and we'll offer you guys $40 per hour. And the one-time fee for the 2-day audit, that one's on us, just to say thank you for being here. And you know, because again, we'd rather see you guys spend the dollars on the actual hours and the work versus the upfront work. But we still got to do the work, but you know, we're just not going to charge you guys for it.
Well, that's great. So again, text the word SEO to 484848 or visit go.homes.forward/SEO, and that will get to you, Kevin, if they visit
Yeah.
there.
That'll
Got
come
it.
to me, and then I'll text you back or call you right away and just be like, hey, when do you want to get together? We'll clear out half an hour and just, you know, like look at it, diagnose it, and then come up, and I'll usually come up with like a couple different strategies, like this is good, this is better, this is your, you know, sprint now approach. But I always say, like, whatever route you go, something is always better than nothing and ignoring it, because it's not going to fix itself.
Exactly. Now I'm going to ask one final question, and we do have some folks that want to talk to you. So
Yeah.
anybody, if you want to tell us right now, just drop your email in and I'll send it over to Kevin. Just drop it in the questions. But obviously go to SEO 484848 or go.homes.forward/SEO. But final question, because I've got a lot of people have this. I'm having a new website built. This is from John. What should I ask the designer and or programmer to do to ensure my site really is SEO friendly? What should I be asking them for?
I mean, I wouldn't say if they're building a site and they're gonna host a website, I would ask, are you going to be optimizing my site as well? Because any website that's built nowadays is going to be SEO friendly.
Okay.
Pretty much any platform, WordPress, placed. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So I would ask, are you optimizing my website, or is it SEO friendly? Ask the
Okay.
right questions. And if they're not saying, yeah, we're gonna, work this many hours a month, then they're probably not going to be doing any actual optimization work. And that's fine. You have the car. Our
Okay.
SEO is putting gas in the tank, basically. It's one of the
Gotcha.
oldest analogies that always stuck with me over the years. Website's
Gotcha.
just a car.
So I got a couple of names for you. We'll forward these over to you of Noreen and Muggsy. Muggsy, I love your name. So cute.
Yeah.
Muggsy wants to have some information as well, so we'll
Yeah.
send that over to you. Well, anyway, thank you everyone for attending today. I think you did a really good job of demystifying, if you will, of de-scarifying. That's a word. This SEO stuff that all of us know we're supposed to do and none of us understand. So thank you so much, Kevin. And I hope you guys will be able to take advantage of this service. It looks like it's affordable. And one of the comments early on was that I've always wanted to do SEO, but I could never afford it. It looks like maybe with your program, there just might be a way for even individual agents to afford to do the right thing to get to page one. So thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, and again, you could start small and you could always add to it later. The $40 an hour rate will be grandfathered in perpetuity. Like, we'll keep it at that rate. If you start conservative, you could always add to it as your business grows. So again,
Right.
like 401k analogy, start somewhere and it will grow over time.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank
All
you
right.
so much, Kevin. This was
Thank you,
awesome.
Marilyn.
And thanks everybody for attending today. And keep posted on RE Technology. We have lots of fun, smart, educational people like Kevin that come and join us regularly. So thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Marilyn.